That's O&S Junior Market. The address is 1934 East Anaheim. All the windows are busted out, and it's like a free-for-all here, and the owner should maybe come down here and see if he can secure his business if he wants to.
April 26, 1992. There was a riot on the streets. Tell me, where were you? You were sitting home watching your TV while I was participating in some anarchy. First spot we hit, it was my liquor store. I finally got all that alcohol I can't afford. With red lights flashing, time to retire. And then we turned that liquor store into a structure fire. Next stop we hit, it was the music shop. It only took one rip to make that window drop. Finally we got our own PA. Where do you think I got this guitar that you're hearing today? Hey!
Call fire and tell them to respond to the mobile station, Alameda, Anaheim.
Since Rodney King in 1991, it seems police brutality has been everywhere, and it is now estimated that police kill a civilian every 7 hours. And while over 2,000 people have been killed by police since 2015, only 1% of the officers involved have been indicted.
The DOJ has consistently found flaws with internal investigations. In Cleveland, investigators admitted they intentionally cast an officer in the best light possible when investigating a use of deadly force. And in Miami, investigations took so long that at least 2 officers shot and killed a suspect while still under investigation for a previous shooting. And there should never be a second one of anything before you figure out whether the first was justified. Call it the Dolphin Tail 2 rule. How is there a second one of these? I thought Harry Connick Jr. ate the dolphin at the end of the first one. I don't know for sure, I haven't seen it, but no one has, and that's the f***ing point. And in Baltimore, the DOJ report included the story of Joe Crystal, a detective who had reported 2 fellow officers for alleged excessive force and was labelled a rat, with one colleague leaving pictures of cheese on his desk, which is almost charming, until you learn how far some others went.
He found himself cut off. He says he didn't get backup in dangerous situations. Someone even left a dead rat on his windshield.
It was like their way of telling me, you don't belong here. This is what we think of you.
And yet, despite all of this, some people still feel comfortable brushing this reality aside like this.
There's been some bad apples out there. I think that, but I don't think that that is indicative of the entire police department.
Yeah, you got bad apples, but you got bad apples in every occupation.
Just like any business, you're going to have some bad apples.
They're out to protect you, and that's what policing's about. Are there bad apples? Yeah.
And while it's easy to brush this issue aside with this kind of thinking, the reality of it is that police are not being held accountable for the crimes they commit, and people are tired of it.
Listen, I just want the police to be held accountable.
We just want the system of policing to be held accountable.
Those police need to be held accountable the same way that you're going to hold me accountable if I broke the law.
Whenever they mess up, whenever they commit a crime, whenever something goes wrong, and I'm talking about serious stuff like murder and whatnot, these guys never get prosecuted.
The cops harassment is frequently. It's all through the day, it's all through the night. Then they not beating us physically, they doing it verbally.
And even though people are aware of this, it continues to get worse. And one of the reasons for that is something called police militarization.
Since 1996, in response to the war on drugs, the Department of Defense transferred $4.3 billion in military equipment to local and state police. After 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security made additional equipment available to local law enforcement through federal funds for terrorism prevention.
And the thing is, even the military doesn't think the police should have access to some of the equipment and vehicles that they've been given.
The Army itself, actually, in a newsletter a few months ago, recommended against using MRAPs even at U.S. military bases. You know, on paved streets in the United States, they're actually unsafe. They tear up the streets. They have a high rollover potential.
Yet no one thought that giving cops military gear would make them act more like the military. Look at this picture from Ferguson. Anyone who has ever gone through a gun safety class knows that you never, ever point a weapon at anything you do not fully intend to destroy. Yet the police in this photo are pointing their rifles directly at an unarmed person. And the wanton use of force by police has gotten so bad, it has led to police officers simply resigning and moving to other precincts whenever they come under investigation for a use of force. And now, this happens so often, there's even a name for it.
Gypsy cops. In South Carolina, a TV station looked into one officer who'd spent a total of 9 years on the job, working for 9 different departments, 3 of them in just 1 year, and in one case, he left in spectacular fashion.
Deputies believed Yarbrough's driving ability was compromised, and they said they discovered a half-empty bottle of rye whiskey and a baggie of assorted pills in his patrol cruiser. According to the state records, Yarbrough said, "I'm not taking no drug test. I guess I'll resign."
Holy shit! I'm not taking no drug test, I guess I'll resign, is a sentence you do not want to hear from a police officer. It's barely appropriate coming from a roadie leaving Aerosmith. And gypsy cops have been involved in tragic incidents. In the Tamir Rice case, the officer who shot the 12-year-old had been in the process of being fired from his previous job before resigning. But the Cleveland police missed that red flag when hiring him because they didn't read his personnel file, which detailed an incident during weapons training where he had a dangerous loss of composure, leading his supervisor to conclude, "I do not believe time nor training will be able to change or correct these deficiencies."
So how do we fix this? We can demilitarize the police, give defendants more power in court, stop using bad apples as an excuse, and we can implement body cameras. Take it away, John.
Body cameras have increased transparency and trust in many places. In Rialto, California, after just 1 year of using them, the number of complaints filed against officers fell by 88%, and the use of force drops by around 60%. And when Baltimore's trial run of a body camera program ended, their police commissioner begged for their return.
Police officers want cameras. I think this is just a moment where everybody wants cameras. I was speaking to some folks just before we came in here, and apparently we had a couple police officers who were turning in their body-worn cameras, and they were asking, when can we get these back?
'Cause everybody in the hood has had it up to